The authenticity anchor, the mind's blueprint to combating imposter syndrome and cultivating intrinsic confidence. Have you ever achieved a major milestone, a promotion, a degree, a prestigious award, only to feel a cold, sinking fear that you don't deserve it, that you're a fraud, and that at any moment someone will discover your secret? This pervasive feeling, known as imposter syndrome, is a powerful psychological barrier that keeps brilliant people from owning their success. It's a cruel cycle where every achievement only serves to heighten the anxiety of being exposed. In this episode of The Mind's Blueprint, we explore the exhausting facade of perpetual self-doubt and reveal the blueprint to finding your authenticity anchor, a profound tool that grounds your self-worth in your intrinsic values, transforming anxiety into unshakable confidence. Mark had just been promoted to vice president of strategy at a major firm, a title that confirmed his decade of hard work, intelligence, and leadership. Externally, he was the picture of success, sharp, articulate, and highly respected. Internally, he lived in a state of constant terror. Every decision he made, every presentation he gave was overshadowed by a critical inner monologue. You just got lucky. You're talking nonsense. They're going to realize you're not qualified, and it's all going to come crashing down. To manage this fear, Mark had developed elaborate coping mechanisms. He overprepared to an exhausting degree, often working through the night to memorize every possible contingency. He avoided delegation, convinced that only his flawless execution could prevent exposure. This intense need for control alienated his team and drained his personal life, leaving him perpetually exhausted and unable to enjoy his achievements. He was wearing a mask of competence so tightly that he had forgotten what his genuine face looked like. His anxiety was a constant hum, a physical tension in his neck and shoulders that never truly left him. His mentor, Eleanor Vance, a retired executive who had mentored dozens of high achievers, recognized the signs immediately. She had successfully navigated her own career while managing this same silent struggle. She found Mark one afternoon, slumped in his office chair after delivering a successful but visibly taxing presentation. "Mark," she said, her voice gentle yet firm, "you've built a career on hard work, but you're trying to build your self-worth on perfection. Imposter syndrome isn't a sign of fraudulence. It's a sign that you are operating at the edge of your comfort zone and your brain is defaulting to fear. The blueprint for confidence isn't found in eliminating the feeling of doubt. It's in realizing that your value is not a scorecard of achievements, but an anchor in your character." Eleanor explained that imposter syndrome is often rooted in early experiences where love or approval felt conditional upon performance. As adults, this translates into a mental trap. We believe the title, the promotion, or the praise is loaned to us rather than earned. She introduced him to the concept of the authenticity anchor, the practice of deliberately shifting our focus from the external validation, what we do, to internal values, who we are. This anchor grounds us in traits that cannot be taken away by a bad day or a poor performance. She gave him a 3-step blueprint for dismantling the imposter narrative and building genuine confidence. If you've ever felt like your success is a lie, hit that subscribe button to join our community and discover more blueprints for your mind. Eleanor's blueprint was designed to force Mark to separate his identity from his output. Practice the evidence log technique. The first step was to combat the memory bias of the imposter narrative, which only remembers failures and dismisses successes as luck. Mark was to keep a daily log not of tasks but of competencies demonstrated. He had to record specific instances where he used his skills, things like successfully mediated a team conflict or gave a clear strategic direction. By focusing on actions and competence instead of results and luck, he built a tangible, indisputable record of his worth. Use the value-driven exposure technique. He was to identify the three core personal values that truly drive him, e.g., integrity, curiosity, mentorship. Then he was to commit to taking on challenges that allowed him to demonstrate these values, even if he felt incompetent in the skill required. This reframed the goal. The success of a task was now defined by his adherence to his values, not the external outcome. Mark began applying the blueprint, and the initial resistance was the voice of his inner critic, which fiercely resisted the evidence log. It fought every entry, successfully mediated a team conflict with a dismissive, "That's just basic management. Anyone could do that." But Mark persisted, viewing the log as a scientific document of observable facts. Slowly, he started to see a pattern. The evidence of his competence was overwhelming, and his reliance on the narrative of luck began to erode. The value-driven exposure technique was the most liberating. Mark identified his core value as curiosity. He volunteered to lead a discussion on an emerging technology he knew little about. The fear was immense, but the goal wasn't to be the expert, it was to demonstrate his curiosity. He asked probing questions, admitted his gaps in knowledge, and focused on learning alongside his team. By anchoring his performance to his value of curiosity rather than competence, the fear of judgment disappeared, replaced by genuine engagement. This profound shift empowered him to master the final step of the blueprint: build the authenticity anchor protocol. This was a three-part ritual to deploy when the imposter feeling strikes hardest, before a major, high-stakes event. A. The externalization. He was to mentally separate himself from the feeling by saying, "This is imposter syndrome. I acknowledge you, but I am not you." This turned the anxiety from a debilitating identity into a manageable thought process. B. The vulnerability commitment. He had to mentally commit to delivering his message or performance with authenticity, prioritizing genuine connection over flawless execution. The goal became connect, don't perfect. The value recitation. He would recite his three core values, integrity, curiosity, mentorship, to himself. This served as his authenticity anchor, reminding him that the measure of his performance was his demonstration of those values, not the feedback score. The ultimate test came 2 months later, a crucial presentation to the board of directors that required a high degree of confidence and vision. The night before, the imposter narrative was a deafening roar. "This is it, Mark. You will be exposed." He sat down and enacted the authenticity anchor protocol. He externalized the fear, then consciously committed to delivering the presentation with genuine curiosity and integrity. The presentation itself was not flawless. At one point, a complex data slide malfunctioned. The old Mark would have frozen, believing the technical glitch was the moment of his exposure. The new Mark paused, smiled gently, and used the moment to demonstrate his value of integrity. "Apologies for the technical glitch. Rather than making you wait, I'll demonstrate one of the key data points on the whiteboard, which, frankly, will allow for a more authentic discussion." He turned to the whiteboard and drew the diagram by hand, engaging the room in an informal, candid discussion. His willingness to abandon the script and lead with his genuine problem-solving skills was a powerful display of leadership. He was not perfect, he was real. Afterward, Eleanor congratulated him. "That was your best presentation, Mark. You weren't flawless, you were present." Mark realized the profound truth. The goal was never to silence the imposter. It was to stop letting the imposter set the rules. By grounding his worth in his authenticity anchor, he had learned that his imperfections were not proof of fraud, but proof of his humanity, which allowed his genuine competence to shine through. He was finally leading, not out of fear, but out of a deep, quiet confidence in who he was. You are not a fraud. By understanding and utilizing the blueprint of your authenticity anchor, you can transform the crippling fear of imposter syndrome into the foundation of your most genuine, powerful success. Join us next time to uncover more of the mind's blueprint, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more insights into the human mind.